So, do you want to complete an Ironman triathlon, but you're worried about juggling your career, your social life, and your personal responsibilities? You don't want to sabotage your career, waste a bunch of money, or have no energy to take care of your other personal responsibilities, but you have this internal calling that just drives you to want to complete an Ironman triathlon. Even if you were ready to commit, would you even know where to start or how to approach your training? So, the good news is you're not alone. And the even better news is I can help you. My name is Nick Lawrence, and through this program, I'll teach you everything you need to know to complete an Ironman triathlon, guide you through a proven training plan that led me to achieve amazing results, and teach you how to build your own training plans off my framework to allow for continuous improvement year over year. And I'm not just blowing smoke. This is what I used to improve my first Ironman time by nearly 3 hours within one 30-week training period. And it's basically what I continue to use in my training to this day as I try to set new PRs year after year. So, in fact, I'm so confident that I guarantee that if you fully commit yourself to this program for just 30 weeks, you'll not only finish your first Ironman triathlon or your second, you'll far surpass even what your own expectations were for yourself. And all without spending a ton of money on an expensive coach every month or dealing with that dreadful feeling of under preparation the months and weeks before race day, or even worse, as you approach the starting line of the race. So, this isn't just a training plan, this is for normal people. This is a whole program, a system. I'm not interested in wasting your time teaching you things that truly don't matter for what you're trying to achieve. You're here to train for an Ironman, and I'll give you the essential knowledge, strategies, and systems you need to place yourself above the rest of your competition and cut through the noise like butter. So, who is this for? Well, if you're someone who wants to do an Ironman triathlon, but you're struggling because you know that you have to balance a career, a family, your relationships, your finances, or any other personal responsibility, you're basically just a normal person who has high goals of achievement for yourself. So if that's you, then listen closely. And if that's not you, you can still listen, but maybe this isn't for you. So, the fitness world over the past bunch of years has changed significantly. The days of hoarding knowledge are done and gone. It just simply doesn't exist anymore, and it really can't exist. At one point in time, the only way to learn how to properly train for a sport like this was by either being part of a team or having an expensive coach. And oftentimes, that coach only tells you what you need to do that day or that week, and they don't really tell you why you're doing what you're doing. So you never really become independent. And you need to keep paying for that coach month over month, year over year, if you want to continue to see improvement. And if you don't get a coach or a program, you're stuck learning little bits of information the hard way, oftentimes as a result of pain or injury. So, if you aim to research on your own, you'll often get little bits of useful information that seem to contradict the things that you previously learned, leading to confusion and overwhelm. So, even if you made it to race day, you'll likely feel overwhelmed or a feeling of concern that you're not prepared, questioning if you did the right thing for all these months that you've been training or if you just wasted your time. So the missing ingredient here isn't what shoes you need to buy or what bike you have or even what trainer program you should use. It's knowledge. Without proper programming, your results are compounding in the wrong direction. And the worst part is you're working just as hard as those who are succeeding. I likely don't work any harder than you do, but effort isn't the reason for my results. While myself and others may soar, you're over here working very hard, training, and achieving a fraction of the results. Working hard, again, is not the answer. The one true needle moving investment you need to make that will make you stand out above all the rest is just proper knowledge. And I'm living proof of that. In 2019, I had a major knee injury that left me unable to train for over a year and a half. I did what I could to keep active, but I didn't have a single day throughout that whole recovery period where I wasn't in pain of some sort. Throughout this time, my goal was always to complete an Ironman triathlon, and I actually signed up for my first Ironman triathlon a month before this major knee injury. So my goal felt about as far away as a goal can feel. And it felt so far away that I wasn't even positive that it would be possible for me with my knee injury. And I've had close family members tell me to just give it up and let my body recover and just not stress it so much because it was such a bad knee injury. But, I kept my head in the direction that I wanted to, and I continued moving forward with a little bit of delusion, maybe, but just the delusion that everything would be okay and that one day I would become an Ironman. Learning from everything that I possibly could learn online, in person. I studied about training, injury prevention, joint strengthening, recovery, nutrition, supplementation, you name it. Pretty much everything. If it was on the internet or if it was readily available, I was researching it, I was reading it, and I was studying it. And I was piecing together any bit of information that I could get my hands on so that I can one day eventually cross that finish line. So after over 2 years of learning and mixing that research together, trial and error, and recovery from this knee injury, which was only partly recovered by the time I actually made it to my race, I made it to the start line of Ironman Lake Placid in July of 2022. Despite all that learning, preparing, training, recovery, just grinding my way forward, I stood at that starting line with minimal confidence, tons of nerves, no sense of calm at all. And the only thing that kept me going was just this delusional resolve that I would not stop unless somebody pulled me off that course. And each leg of the race was a complete battle. I barely made it through any of the milestone checkpoints, and with only 22 minutes to spare, I heard those final words, "Nick Lawrence, you are an Ironman." Finish time was 16 hours and 38 minutes. Literally 22 minutes from the final cutoff. And if I'm being honest, knowing what I know now, that first training season was far from perfect. In fact, it was as far from perfect as you can get. Learning on the fly comes with its own form of pride, yes, but aside from that, it's way harder, and it was way harder than it needed to be. I gave myself the next year off from racing any major distances and resolved that for the next race, I would do the same course in 2024. This time, though, I resolved myself that it would be armed with more experience and a desire to work smarter and not harder. The first race took not only all of my physical energy, it took all of my mental energy too. All I could think about was the race. All I could stress about was the race, my training, improvement. And this was not good for my career, and it definitely was not good for my personal life. I have a high stress job that I have a lot of responsibilities for, leveraging both electrical engineering and project management in the healthcare systems of New York. And it started to even get in the way of that. And I started to realize that something I do in my free time, no matter how important it was to me personally, just should be more of an accent on my life and not an all consuming focus. Like, I had to really put it into a different perspective that this is not the core focus of my life. So, for the 2024 season, I decided to get a coach and engage with more people in the community to share and learn and basically speak about the lessons that we've learned and the strategies that we implement in our training to learn from one another. The coaches were expensive, around $200 a month, but there was no doubt that they provided great value. But their primary benefit, in all honesty, was accountability and helping me push harder than I naturally wanted to. Aside from that, the plan was the plan, and the information was still the information. So for the 2024 season, I dedicated 30 weeks to bring myself to that next starting line. And this season was driven by knowledge, by research, by greater experience than my own at the time. And after that 30 weeks, I walked up to that starting line feeling way different. I was calm, I was confident, and I was curious about how that day would go, rather than being scared about how that day would go. I knew deep down that I would do well, but the difference with this race is I was more curious about how well that I would do rather than if it was even possible for me. So fast forward 13 hours and 51 minutes later, and I heard those magic words once again, except much faster, much more confident, and very proud of the progress and effort that I made. And that was the difference between an ad hoc season of trial and error and a structured and informed approach to Ironman. See, the reality for you right now is that you don't have the knowledge or the strategy to achieve your goal in an efficient way. Your training isn't orchestrated well with your life, so everything feels like a major effort, meaning that you're achieving a fraction of the results with the same hours invested. You're putting in the hard work, but your results are completely out of your control. Now imagine if one investment, everything you do afterwards, achieves tenfold the results you were achieving prior and gives you a sense of mental space and mental calm. What kind of impact would that have on your life? Look, maybe you're sitting there thinking that for you and your goals, this really doesn't matter and that you can get by without it. And I'm sure you can get by with trial and error, just like I did that first year. Just like you can climb Everest without oxygen or run a marathon in Crocs and without any training. It can be done, but why make it harder than it needs to be? Wouldn't you choose an option that gives you the greatest chance of success? What are we doing here? Trying to set ourselves up for an advantage or challenging our resolve in some weird masochistic exercise? I imagine it's the former, or at least I hope it is. Or like dozens of people who complain about their results but then refuse to do anything about it. Maybe you've just told yourself that you don't have the time. But let me tell you something. For me to train for an Ironman, like my last 2024 season, it takes me the same amount of time, the same amount of energy as it would to train for another season, like my 2022 season. This is all about knowledge. It's not about effort. Once you learn the information I'm about to teach you, training won't take any longer than necessary, except now, for every hour of effort that you put in, you get much better results. So imagine being able to make one small investment and lock in 10 times better results year after year without having to spend nearly the money. I'd probably take that opportunity. See, knowledge is the only force multiplier in this field and in pretty much any other field. And I get it. Maybe you've invested in coaches or programs that promise similar results and underdelivered. Or maybe you're just worried that you won't see results because why would it work for you? But let me ask you this. Do you not believe that by increasing your knowledge and the quality of your training, that results won't follow? Because if you do, then this investment will pay for itself in dividends. I'm no pro athlete, just like you, and I've trained for several Ironman triathlons and continue to train for them while having a full-time career, a fiance, a family, many other personal obligations and challenges, trying to set myself up for the future and trying to start my own business at the same time. I'm not here to teach you how to complete an Ironman triathlon. I'm here to teach you the essentials you need to complete an Ironman without taking up all of your time or spending all of your money. This is why I created the Ironman Mastery Program. This is not just a training plan. This is a complete program to help you learn all the information needed to have a successful training season and race day. And also tailor the plan that I'm providing you within this program to your level so that you can modify it and continue to use it year over year. Because the reality is, with this stuff, the information won't change. It's not going to change from this year to next year to the following year. So you buy a program like this once and you can continue to implement it and adjust it to your next training plan as you improve in fitness. So that's what makes me and this program different. I'm not a pro athlete. I'm an electrical engineer and project manager who happens to have a deep passion for fitness and personal development. I know this stuff like the back of my hand, and I know what you need and what you don't need. This is the most streamlined program to Ironman Triathlon you'll find anywhere online. Most programs will drown you in complex information and practices that no one ever uses. Or worse, advise you to spend boatloads of money on gear and memberships and programs that will only lead to small percentages of improvement. And that's not what you need. I cut straight through the fluff and give you the exact tools and strategies that will immediately impact your performance. Because again, I'm not here just to teach you how to do an Ironman. I'm here to help you do it while saving you time and money. When you finish your first season with this program, you won't just know how to train better, you will have the skills to perform better. You will see immediate improvement in how your body feels. And most importantly, you'll start showing the tangible results. And once you become an Ironman, you're an Ironman for life. So you will carry that mark on you or with you forever. So here's what you'll get in the Ironman Mastery Program. It's broken up into 9 chapters and 3 sections. The 9 chapters are designed to progress you from beginner who doesn't know anything about training through to you're actively training and you're on your way to complete your first Ironman triathlon. So chapter 1 is an introduction to what is the Ironman triathlon. Chapter 2 digs into all the details of swim, bike, and run, including strategy, techniques, and discipline-specific considerations. Chapter 3 is everything you need to know about fueling and recovery. So between race day nutrition, intra-workout nutrition, general nutrition, and general recovery. Chapter 4 teaches you how to tailor the plan that's included in this program to you. And as a reminder, there is a 30-week training plan included in this program, and that is my personal training plan that I use again, for the results that I said just before. Chapter 5 is a chapter on how to manage intensity and strain so that your intensity and strain can allow you to continue to improve without overreaching into the rest of your life. And Chapter 6 are my gear recommendations, and it's just a quick, detailed breakdown on all the gear that's absolutely necessary for your training, and then all the gear that is just nice to have, and then how I rate them in terms of what value they'll provide you with your training. Chapter 7 is phase 1 of your training plan, which is your base phase. Chapter 8 is phase 2 of your training plan, which is the build phase. And Chapter 9 is phase 3 of your training plan, which is the peak and taper phase. So why should you listen to me? Well, the simple answer there is because I've done it before. And like I said, I'm not a pro, nor was I ever really that gifted in sport. I'm a working professional with just a passion for fitness and pushing my limits. I know what works for people like us because I used and still use this exact information in my own training. I spent half a decade learning about training for Ironman, and now I use those skills each and every day to give myself and others an edge. My knowledge of fitness is my greatest unfair advantage, and I want to make it yours too. I'm not going to waste your time with anything but the exact information that you need. And I know what you're thinking, is this really worth the investment? And I can guarantee that it is. When you apply what I teach, you will see results almost immediately. Not to mention that this is way less expensive than even a single month of coaching. And this has way, way more value. And just again, as a reminder, what I paid for a single month of coaching was $200 a month. And that really wasn't on the expensive range of coaches. Like I've seen anywhere from $200 to $500 a month, depending on the coach that you go to. So let me ask you this again. Do you really want to be an Ironman? Of course you do. So then what are you waiting for? If you're ready to become an Ironman, if you're ready to step your training to the next level, then the Ironman Mastery Program is the solution you've been waiting for. There's a button on this page to purchase, so click it and get started.